Welcome to DayZ. Finding a good base location is hard. Today, we're talking about the best base locations on Chernarus for a solo or a small group. Before we start though, it's important to note there is no perfect base spot. You will almost always be found, and there's no telling how long that will take. But here, we're taking into account the most important attributes of a base location, those being traffic, or how many players will come through the area. To define this, I've looked up every possible heat map I could find online, and in general, I'm just drawing from my experiences as a 7,000 hour player, where I fought players and where I found people over the last decade, costs, or how much material you will need to have to effectively seal your base, layers of protection, how many walls you can place between your entrance and your core, visibility, the likelihood someone will see you entering your base or see your walls from a distance, and lastly, if there are any nearby lumber piles. With that being said, let's get into this solo base building guide. This first base location can also be used as a stash, and also there's just in general a lot of places you can hide good things. If you spawn in Svetlo and you turn back around and you go up this little valley here, right? There's Svetlo down there. You ride where the trees are open. These two rocks that are peeking over right in front of this, we're just going to go up to the right here, and eventually that is going to lead us to this little nest spot right here in the woods. Now, you can build a wall here, or you could just use this as a stash location in general, but the wall is going to be quite tricky. It's hard to get it to line up, and once you do, someone could probably like line up a bunch of car doors here and kind of get in the top, but so long as you have a code lock on this, they're not going to be able to soft side your wall, so it's not going to matter if they get to the other side. With that being said, we're not going to want to store our goodies out here on the edges where people can just come along and pick them up, right? We're going to want to keep our wooden boxes up on the wall there or up snug in the corner. But a really sneaky base location that a lot of people don't know about, and maybe after this video does really poorly, some people still won't know about it. Who knows? Next up, we are talking about a building that a lot of players don't even realize exists, and this is the Regal Corner. That's what I call it. And there are actually like a million of these in Novo. They are right here. So we have one here, we have one here, we have one here, we have two over here, if I'm not mistaken. There's also one on this side. There's one right here, one right here. There's a million of these things, right? And a lot of players don't realize that they even exist up there because they come in the first floor and they run through here and they open this guy and they're like, okay, loot's in here, sick. And then they move on, they go. A lot of these stairways end up to a dead end, which this one does too, but right here we have a door, right? And it's a dead end up here. But right here we have a door. Now, the thing that makes the Regal building so good, very similar to another one that we talked about earlier, is that one, when I'm very first opening this door, look at this. This door can be completely shut behind me. So I'm like locked in here now, right? I'm not exposed while I'm opening the door. And then once I open the door, check it out. You can't even get up the stairs. So it acts as like a two-way safety buffer. So that's why this building is highly desirable, is just the security of coming and going. It's very unlikely that you're going to get got while you're entering your base on some bullshit that you're like going to be like, oh, dude, that's not even fair, brother. But you can also get a second gate in this front entrance here. Make sure when you're doing this that you allow the code locks to be connected and touched. And as we go in, another thing that I think people try and do very often, and I try to do honestly too, is build in this front area. I like building back here more. Makes it more accessible. And then we could build a last little layer right here too. But a really great location, and when you're picking which one, you're like, you just said there's a million of them in Novo. All you really have to worry about is if the windows can be seen in from the hill. So as we see right here, this building wouldn't be so good because when we're in here, we could be shot at from the window. This one, windows facing this way. Can I be shot at from the windows? Not really, right? No, not at all. That one's good. Even this one's good. This is the one that I did build in. You can be seen from the, but barely, right? The good thing about this is that players are going to be coming and going from this area, but not many players even realize that there's an upstairs area in these Regal Corner buildings. So really, it's your choice which one you choose to build in, but I think that is one of the most secure right up there with the beige 2-story as like the best buildings to build in. Next up, we have the Sverigino Dams, and the reason why this location is good, because it doesn't feel like it should be, is because it's very hard to see. Now, you can see this one here, but if you're walking on the road up here, which most people are walking associated to the road, you're not going to see this one over here. And you could essentially build in as many of these as you want and solidify them. But I recommend starting with this side over here if you're building in the dam, just because the only way you're going to be able to see that is from up on this hill. Whereas the right side of that giant bunker can be seen from all sides. So this is really easy. You essentially just wall the corner off, and then you're going to take 2 walls. You're going to wall across and then wall this way. And you could build a 2-wall sort of structure here with a stash right here. This is like a middle ground in between, sort of, you're getting into the advanced part of the game, but you're still leaving the spawn area. Like, you're right in the middle right here. So this is a really great spot. You could do this at any dam location, but I find that this particular dam location is the best of them all. It is connected to this northern road that comes from Novodomedrovask right down this way. And then it's at Sverigino right here. So it's right before that, this big dam. Boom. While we're speaking of Zelenogorsk, I thought I'd show you 2 of my favorite sneaky little locations to build here. Right in the center of the town, actually. Here's the well, just for frame of reference. There is this little building that you can easily not be seen in. A lot of people that are experienced that come through Zelenogorsk are just running through here to hit the military and then moving on. So they're not spending too much time in the civilian area. But check this out. You can get 2 fences in here. And this building does something that we're going to see as a reoccurring theme for some of these buildings. It actually has a safe airlock. So when this door is open, right, I could close this. And no one's going to be able to come and mess with me while I'm opening my next lock here. A couple beautiful things about this base as well, I feel like a realtor right now, is you can aim out at the well right here. So like if someone is in town and you just heard them shooting down here, you could kind of plot on them. You could be evil. Also out this window, which is kind of sketchy, but ultimately you're going to have this closed, right? So they're not going to be able to shoot you from there. But out this window, you could kind of get eyes over on the entrance of the military, right? We could see all the hill opposite, and we could see the entrance over here as well. And kind of get eyes on the medical, too. Ooh, nice. I didn't realize that. But a really sneaky, crafty location. And I think in general, like, a lot of people aren't going to go into this building because Zelen is such a scary place for people that they're trying to get in and out as much as you probably are when you're here. But a pretty sick spot, nevertheless. Here's another very similar one to the last one I just showed you. It's in Zelenogorsk, kind of in the middle of the city, right down the street from the church. And this one only allows you 1 door, but it kind of has all the same things that the other one has. It's very discreet, and once you come inside... Oh, sorry. Close there. Once you come inside, though, the benefit of this guy is that you have really good eyes on the military. Check that out. You can literally look into the Quonset hut right there. Right, and there's a lot more room inventory-wise in here. So a really good spot. I couldn't manage to get 2 walls in here. Maybe... Nah, this carpet was messing it up. But overall, a really cool base spot. Just 1 door to seal it off, and it should be all yours. So I know a lot of you guys have seen my videos where I build in the 1x1 barns that are all over the place. Little gray guys. I'll be able to find one in 2 seconds here. Boom, this guy right here. I know you guys have seen the videos where people are building in these. These are good, but now I'm going to show you an even better option, and that is these industrial units right here. The reason these are better is because that second wall that you need to build, whereas on the gray one that I just showed you, it takes 3 walls to seal like to make it 2 doors deep, 2 walls deep. Here, it only takes 2 walls, so it's 1 less wall. And if you can find a discrete location for this, it is incredibly easy to build in. And just keep in mind, And I said this previously too. When you build in these on a different base building video, when you build in these, you could build a wall on these two walls on these one, that one, 2 walls on this one, and then people got to pick like, what door are we gonna loot? It's like a roll of the dice sort of situation, and you could concentrate all your loot. You could spread it out into the 3 evenly, whatever you think it is. But this particular location, I like a lot just because, once again, low traffic, low density. You have access to all these hunting cabins and a medical right here. We are right by Devil's Castle. So Devil's Castle is right over here. So there's the castle loot that we're going to have. And as a consequence, we got like Starry over here as well. And a lot of other juicy loot headed towards Northwest Airfield. A lot of people don't even know about this location. On top of that, right over here, we have a well. And I'm pretty sure there's a stream. Like, I think I'm lying. I don't think there's a pond nearby. But a really great location. You could build in these guys, and let's say you completely fulfilled building in these guys in Romashka. You completely filled these guys out. You could come down here and you could just build in these cabins now. Just building in this entrance area, a wall across the entrance, and then boom, you got another seal on another base of yours, right? So a really great location. This is completely off the beaten path. No one's coming up here unless they're intentionally coming here or they're dead lost. Which those are the type of people you want coming across your base overall. Next up, we are talking about the gold standard of solo duo sort of buildings, and that is the Beige 2-story. Now, you can really build this anywhere, but I just wanted to really quickly show you the layout of the building that you're going to want to do. There are 2 entrances to the building, but it's okay because you could funnel them right here at this spot, right before the fireplace. So you're going to build a wall here. And then the second wall is kind of tricky because if you build it too close to the fireplace on this side, you won't be able to build the floor of this and they'll be able to just lay down and crawl through. So make sure you give it a little bit of space there. And for this third one too, I actually have this screenshot here. As you see, I'm standing on the opposite side of the picnic table, but if I just built it like this, the soft side would be facing me. So you have to rotate it all the way around and then stand at this angle and try and wiggle it into that white space just to give yourself enough space to reach that code lock. So you're going to want to make sure that when you build this one, you give yourself room for that. And then going upstairs, we could get 1 more up here, maybe even 2 if we wanted to layer it like spaghetti up there. But a really great building in general, so you can get 1, 2, 3, 4, just like this, pretty easy, maybe even 5 in here, and then you can build watchtowers from the outside as well. So this is just the Pulkovo one. I'm going to show you actually a couple of these that I think are better. I just wanted to give you the layout for this, although I do think the Pulkovo one is good because we have Green Mountain and a bunch of heli crash spawns right over there, right over there. This is going to be probably my second favorite beige house on the entire map. The reason why I like this is it is on a break off. So after you come down this road here, you're going to have probably a sufficient amount of civilian food. You're going to have water because there's a well there. And you're going to be heading up this road. And then there's going to be a little fork here and a sign that says Waxkopka and Polana straight ahead. So Polana 1 mile ahead and Waxkopka to the left. Now, if you look at DayZ heat maps, like I did for this video a lot, I looked up everyone I could possibly find on the internet. Waxkopka is universally the least traversed location on the map. It is in a dead zone in the center of the map. Anyone who is at that location is normally using it to pass through, or just because they were like, oh, no one goes this way. That was literally the associated thought that they probably went through. When you're at this point, like I said, you probably have enough civilian food. You're going to look over and you're going to see that one building. You're going to go, no, I'm fine. And you're going to keep running more than likely, or at least I would. I think this beige house right here, nestled in these trees with a river right next to it. So if you do need food ever, you could obviously just fish right there. You have all of these trees access right here too. So plenty of logs. You could quickly build this up if you had all the other ingredients rather smoothly. With that being said, also straight down this road, the reason why I like this base a lot is the most common spawn in DayZ is literally down this road. So we have the bottom side of Solnichny and we have the Solnichny mine. So if you did have a base in that particular beige house and you spawned at the most common spawn, you could easily navigate to this little valley here and just ride it up to your base. Next up, we are talking about our first castle, and any castle that you can build in, I just want to be clear, is a good castle to build in. This one in particular is the Krasnostav Castle, or Chornaya Golila, is how they say it, I think. The only downfall of this one, which I actually prefer, is that it's not on the ground, so you're not going to be able to build a wall outside. So it's going to be a little more discreet. You're going to be able to unlock this door like this, watch. You're going to be like, boom, and you got a little bit more protection than it just being a flat wall. But the cool thing about castles is that you can build every floor up. Okay, as you see here, it's our, oops, sorry. This is our second floor. And then we have a third floor. You can build every floor up. You're going to be able to build 2 walls. And as a solo, what you really want is you want to be able to seal it with that first wall and then gather materials afterwards. And it only takes 1 wall to seal here. And then afterwards, you have eyes on all of Krasnostav here. A really great base location. In general, though, as I said, any castle is going to be good for any size group. And that goes from mega groups to small groups, kind of like the apartment buildings. You could kind of turn it into whatever you want to turn it into. A really great location, this one in particular, because it's kind of inland. Like, it's inland far enough to where fresh spawns aren't always going to be able to make it here. But a lot of experienced players are in general going to be aiming a little bit more to the north, or they're going to be kind of beelining to military, so they may pass this up, not even realizing there's a dope mega Chad base in there. Next up, we have the Kozlovka Barns, and these are located just outside of Kozlovka, which if you find a heat map online for DayZ, you'll realize quickly is one of the least trafficked areas in all of DayZ. And for both of these barns, it's going to take the exact same amount to seal them up. It's going to take two gates. You're going to have to put 1 on each side. But the beautiful thing about these is there is a lot of space. I prefer this guy over here just because there's a lot more space, and on top of there being more space, when you get inside, there is potential to further wall off inside here, like a tight wall right there across, or on the opposite corner. Something you got to be careful of is, notice how I built in this corner, not this corner, because people could get up on these guys and then jump down on the opposite side. Like if it was over there, it'd come down over here, right? So you got to be careful with that, but it's a lot more potential to block off in here. The good thing about both of these guys is they are close enough to the spawn area that you can run to them quickly, and far enough from the spawn area that right around the corner is really great loot, like Zelenogorsk. So any of these apartments could be good for a solo to build in. If you are going to build in these apartments, a couple words of caution. If you're building in a short stack and there's 2 of them attached, this is not going to be good for you to block off the base on, right? Because someone can climb up through that ladder hatch there and then come down through this ladder hatch here. So you're going to have to, if you build in a short apartment like this one, you're going to have to come inside, and you're going to have to come into a room such as this or this guy right here. And we're going to want to build up a fence right here to have it sealed off. Now, with that being said, even though it seems like it shouldn't be for a solo a good base, these tall apartments are fantastic. They are wonderful, super valuable, incredibly strong. I'm going to show you my favorite one in particular is this guy right here, because it allows you to look over the heart of Cherno, so you could see new fresh spawns coming in. You could be that lame guy on the roof sniping people. I think I'm sewing into evil right now that I don't want to be associated with, but there is an easy way to seal it off just at the bottom here. And after you build this, you could essentially just build every single opportunity there's a chance to get into one of these side rooms. You could build a block off every single time. So you could just wall off in the beginning, the bottom, and then continually as you go up, wall, 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 and keep having more and more stashes all the way to the top. The great thing about these buildings as well is they don't spawn much loot in them, if any. So because of this, a lot of experienced DayZ players don't go looking to loot them. And what this means is that oftentimes if you do build even in one of these short guys, just in a random room here, no one is going to go looking into that room. No one is going to come. If you built a wall right here across left to right, no one's going to come looking at this. It is a very discreet location. Now that I've said this, if this video does really poorly once again. Building all these. If it does really well, if you come back and you see 100,000 views, dude, be very careful building these apartments. But they're very discreet, very sneaky, and there's so many of them. You could literally build in any of these, right? You could come over to this set over here. What I don't recommend is building in the northern apartments up there in, oh God, Novaya Petrovka. Those are not safe apartments. But all of these coastal apartments are actually really good. Next up, we are talking about the Bridge Barn, and this is actually really close to the Beige house that I just showed you right here. So kind of the same principle applies, except people are going to be walking up this road, right? And the reason why I think this particular barn is kind of cool is because it's a solo barn with just an industrial right there. And if you're not really paying attention, you could easily walk past this and not realize. So the flow of traffic is going to be down quite a bit. We also have a little hunting cabin. Or sorry, a little hunting shed right there. You have the river right here as well, and like I said earlier, it's just going to take 2 walls to seal this up. Combined with animal spawns right here, it can be a very good location to kind of use as a springboard to get deeper in the map. So because we are so close to that spawn area, you could build in this one or that beige house and kind of be set to equip yourself and then move deeper into the map. Next up, we have the Rog Radar area, and this is a very discreet location. Experienced players know that there's not much loot on these radar towers, so they're just going to walk on by. But essentially, it's fit perfectly to where the only entrance to this little square is that gap that 2 walls can fit perfectly in. Afterwards, you have this thing to hold all your storage boxes or barrels, and you're pretty much set. You can always climb up, and the beautiful thing about this location that makes it good is the spawn is right here. So if you ever spawn in Cami Shobo, you would literally just go bip bip and you're at your base. A pretty good location. Like I said though, the one thing holding it back is that there is no capacity for an airlock or to further seal it after you get that one wall down. Next up, we have the piano house in Karmankovka, and this is a building that I hold close to my heart because in general, piano houses are not great to build in, as we saw with my Bethany video recently. They take a lot to seal. After you get this first door down, you got to put, in order to get that second layer, you have to waste 1 door, 2 doors, and then make a gate, right? So you have to kind of waste a lot of material to make this work, and you can't build upstairs. But with that being said, of all the bases I've ever built on official, this base that I built lasted longer. I wasn't playing actively on it. It was just there. And I wasn't even like logging in and touching it. And it lasted to the point of decay. So this is clearly a spot. And that's on a high pop New York official server. Yeah, it was crazy. I logged back in months later, not even, or like a month later, not even touching the game or touching the server for a little bit. And I still saw my base there, and I opened the code with the guy and gave it to him. This place is great, not only because all these trees provide a great deal of cover, not only because there's a well right here, and this in general just is a base building dream. Like I just find a lot of base building equips, but also within like 10 feet, we have planks that spawn right here. So an incredibly good location to just get juice at if you do want to build a base here. Also, you can get NBC stuff and have easy access over to Riffy. So a pretty great location, and one that I made a full video on, dominating official DayZ. Are we doing it again? I think we're doing it again. Here's another shout out to a double story beige that I think is incredibly low traffic when it comes to people coming by, but it's in an area advanced enough that you're going to be getting juicy loot, and that is that Gvozdno. The reason I like this one is because it is at the very end of a road, and then there's a dirt road afterwards, and this dirt road just heads off into the woods here. It's not like a dirt road that someone's going to be following very likely on their pathway across the map. They're not going to follow and like twist and twirl down this dirt road here at this point in the game. It's at the very end here by a bar, and in general, this, if you look at the heat map, same thing. That's why I kind of picked the locations that I did. It's very seldom trafficked. Like the concentration of players that run through this area is very low. Once again, it's a 4 stack. There can be planks nearby, but not near enough by to where you can focus on that as the only way that you're going to do it. But thankfully, we have this giant wooded area behind here. A really great location that also gives you like ease of access to Severograd right here. And then by consequence, Devil's Castle and Northwest Airfield over there. But a really great location that I think a lot of people aren't even thinking about. Most people are riding up this way to go south from here. Not many people trek up over here. So a really great location. Just wanted to give it a shout really quick. That's all. Lastly, we are going to be talking about the prison in the southwest corner of the map. And this is a really easy location to kind of conceal and lock away. You just need to put gates with padlocks right in here. And you could get quite a few just in this hallway. After this, it gets a little bit harder to secure because you need to worry about people going up and then coming out up here. And then even more so, people jumping on top of this and running across. They could run all the way over here and jump down. So sealing on this second part is going to be really difficult. But this first hallway here, my dog is freaking out. This first hallway here is going to be really good for us to just seal everything away. A couple problems with this location. We can't get a barrel over here. You can't put it on a boat. You're going to have to like find a way to build a bridge or something. And on top of that, there are no plank spawns. So we're going to have to cut down the few amount of trees that we have here or go across, get a bunch of planks and bring them back afterwards. The good news is if you bring a boat and you kind of store it on this backside, I mean, if someone does come here and is snooping around, they may find it. But the chance that someone comes down here is relatively low. It is in a high traffic location. Maybe only inexperienced players in general will come here unless someone's coming here for something in specific. But a very nice location. You do have in here this back prison area, and you have this military barrack as well as this industrial. Thank you guys so much for watching. The last thing I want to add is you can just make a wooden box and find any pond and drop it in the pond. So long as you could stand up with the wooden box, it's going to drop on the ground. And that could be your own personal little hidden stash base. But thank you guys so much for watching. I've been requested this particular idea for a video for a long time, so I'm happy I finally got it. Be good to each other out there. Or don't.